Imagine you are walking through a field. The grass shifts. A snake slides out. Your whole body reacts before your brain even has a thought. Your stomach tightens. Your skin crawls. You step back. And you probably feel like that reaction is completely normal, natural, instinctive. But here's the strange part. 10,000 years ago, your ancestors stood in that exact same field, saw that exact same snake, and ate it. Not out of desperation, not because they were starving. They ate it the same way you eat chicken today. So what happened to us? Why do we walk past lizards, snakes, and turtles every single day? Animals that are full of protein, low in fat, and genuinely nutritious, and feel nothing but disgust. The answer isn't cultural, it isn't religious, it isn't even fully rational. The answer is buried deep inside your brain. And once you understand it, you will never look at your dinner plate the same way again. Stay till the end. Because the last part reveals something about human evolution that almost no one talks about. Let's go back. Way back. Not 10,000 years. Much further than that. Fossil evidence from sites across Africa and Europe shows that early Homo sapiens, and even our older relatives Homo erectus, regularly consumed reptiles. Turtle shells cracked open at the marrow. Lizard bones split apart for fat. Snake vertebrae found in ancient cooking pits. These were not accident discoveries. They were consistent patterns across hundreds of thousands of years of human prehistory. Reptiles were a food source, a reliable one. They don't run fast. They can be found in predictable locations. They don't fight back the way a large mammal does. And they don't require a coordinated hunting party to take down. For a small band of early humans trying to survive, a lizard was a gift. So why did we stop? Here is the first piece of the puzzle. Not everyone stopped. That's the part that will genuinely shock you. Right now, millions of people around the world eat reptiles as a completely normal part of their diet. In Mexico and Central America, iguana is called chicken of the trees. It has been eaten for over 3,000 years. It is lean, high in protein, and widely available. In some regions, it is more common than chicken. In Vietnam and China, snake restaurants are a staple. King cobra, banded crate, prepared in soups, stir-fries, and rice wine, sold openly in markets every single day. In Australia, crocodile meat is farmed commercially and served in restaurants across the country. It is low in fat, high in omega-3 fatty acids, and nutritionally extraordinary. In parts of sub-Saharan Africa, monitor lizard is eaten regularly. In the Philippines, indigenous communities have consumed large lizards as traditional food for centuries. So this is not a universal human behavior. Billions of people have no problem eating reptiles at all, which means the real question shifts. Why do you? Here is where it gets fascinating. In the 1980s, a psychologist named Paul Rozin at the University of Pennsylvania began studying something that had never been properly investigated. Disgust. Not fear. Not revulsion. Disgust. He discovered that disgust is not a random emotional reaction. It is a system, a very specific, very ancient biological system that every human being is born carrying. He called it the behavioral immune system. Here is how it works. Your actual immune system, the one with white blood cells and antibodies, takes days to respond to a pathogen. It is slow. It is reactive. By the time it fully activates, you can already be very sick. But disgust is fast, instant. It fires before you even think. Rosin's research showed that humans feel disgust most intensely toward things that could carry disease or parasites, rotting food, feces, dead bodies, and, critically, animals that live in environments associated with contamination. Swamps, mud, stagnant water, underground spaces, places where bacteria and parasites breed, snakes, lizards, crocodiles. Your brain quietly filed reptiles into the category of biological threat and locked them behind a wall of revulsion. Not because they necessarily are dangerous, but because the ones that were dangerous, the ones that carried parasites, that lived near polluted water sources, that harbored bacteria difficult to eliminate without proper cooking, those were genuinely deadly. And the ancestors who ate them recklessly sometimes didn't make it. The ancestors who felt disgust survived more often. Over tens of thousands of years, that disgust became stronger and stronger and more automatic. You inherited it. Now here is the twist. Reptiles aren't actually that dangerous to eat, not when prepared correctly. This is the part almost no one knows. Yes, reptiles carry salmonella. Many of them do, particularly on their skin and in their digestive tract. But so does chicken. So does beef. So do most raw animal products sold in supermarkets today. The difference is that we built entire food systems to manage those risks. We refrigerate, we cook to precise internal temperatures, we inspect, we process, we regulate. Nobody built that system for snakes, so the fear stays frozen in place. The internal parasites found in wild reptiles, nematodes, tapeworms, flukes, are real. But thorough, consistent cooking eliminates them entirely. The risk isn't the reptile. The risk is the preparation. And this is exactly the same story that played out with pork, and shellfish, and chicken, and raw fish. Every single one of those foods was once considered dangerously taboo. Ancient food prohibitions surrounded pork and shellfish for the exact same reason: disease association, contamination risk, behavioral immune system firing. Over time, civilization solved those problems with cooking technology and animal husbandry. We just never got around to doing the same for reptiles. And here is the economic reason why. Reptiles are cold-blooded. That sounds like a small biological footnote. It is actually everything. Mammals and birds are warm-blooded. They burn enormous amounts of energy simply maintaining their core body temperature. A cow converts only about 3 to 5% of the food it eats into actual body mass. The rest is wasted as heat. A reptile converts up to 50% of the food it consumes directly into body mass. By that logic, farming reptiles should be the most efficient meat production system on Earth. And in terms of raw biology, it is. But there is a catch. Reptiles grow slowly. A cow reaches slaughter weight in 18 to 24 months. A crocodile takes 3 to 5 years to reach the same mass. A large monitor lizard may take even longer. And they require controlled external heat. They cannot regulate their own body temperature, so a farm has to do it for them. Early human civilizations did not have the infrastructure or the tools to make that work at scale. So they domesticated the animals that fit their world, animals that were social, and therefore easy to herd and manage, animals that matured quickly, animals that could live on grass and scraps, cows, sheep, goats, pigs, chickens. Snakes and lizards didn't fit the model. They got left out of the agricultural revolution. And once an animal is excluded from that revolution, it falls out of the food culture almost completely. Within a few generations, eating it starts to feel unusual. Within a few more generations, the disgust response fully takes over. What was once ordinary becomes unthinkable. Now here is the part that will genuinely change how you see your dinner plate. Reptile meat, when properly prepared, tastes like chicken. This is not a joke. This is not food tourism exaggeration. Crocodile meat has a mild, white-fleshed flavor nearly identical to a chicken breast. Snake meat has a similar fine-grained texture. Iguana is close enough that in Mexico it is literally known as chicken of the trees, not as a metaphor, but as a genuine description. The reason is evolution. Reptiles and birds share a common ancestor. They share similar slow-twitch muscle fiber structures, similar protein compositions at the molecular level. When you eat a chicken leg, you are, in a very real evolutionary sense, consuming the domesticated descendant of the reptile lineage. The theropod dinosaurs that gave rise to modern birds were reptiles. Chickens are essentially the feathered, farmed, disgust-free version of the exact category of animal your behavioral immune system refuses to let you touch. Your brain rejected the snake, and then turned its evolutionary cousin into the most widely consumed meat on the entire planet. So let's zoom all the way out. Why don't you eat wild reptiles? Not because they're inedible, not because they taste foreign, not because they are nutritionally inferior. You don't eat them because tens of thousands of years ago, the humans who were careless about eating them sometimes died from parasites or bacterial infection. And the humans who felt disgust, the ones whose gut said no before their mind had a chance to reason, survived more often, had more children, passed that response forward, that tight visceral shudder you feel when you see a snake moving through the grass. That is not weakness. That is not squeamishness. That is not a personality quirk. That is a survival algorithm. One that has been running in your body without a single software update for hundreds of thousands of years. It kept your ancestors alive in a world without refrigerators, without food inspectors, without antibiotics, without any safety net at all. But you don't live in that world anymore. You live in a world where crocodile is farmed and regulated in Queensland, where iguana is served at restaurants in Mexico City, where snake soup has been safely consumed across Southeast Asia for 3,000 years. The danger isn't gone, but it has been managed. The disgust, though, never got the memo. It is still running, still scanning, still protecting you from threats that mostly no longer exist in the form that originally created it. And every time you feel that involuntary recoil, that deep, automatic, I could never eat that, what you are actually feeling is evolution. Ancient, loyal, slightly outdated evolution, still doing its job. In a world that quietly changed without asking it to stop.